This is week 3 assignment. The topics for this assignment is algebraic operations and the properties of real numbers, which is week 2 and week 3 of our book. I think some of the important learning outcomes is included in this page that I printed out, which is all of the properties, their definition, and a given example. I really like that it's all kind of grouped together on one page because I think it makes it easier for the student to be able to look back and be like, hey, that's what this is, and then see exactly what the equation should look like versus having to flip through the book. There are a lot of definitions, like I said, um, that were included in this particular one that carried over into week 3. I think this is from week 2. Um, we have the additive inverse and identity. We have the multiplicative inverse and identity, the commutative property of addition and multiplication, the associative property of addition and multiplication, the distributive property, and then closure, which is the set of real numbers is closed for addition and multiplication, which is seen here on the bottom in that equation right here. I'm sorry, right here. Um, I really also liked, there was another section where it broke down with each equation, each step by step, working through it, what side they were working on and such. And I think that would be a fabulous teaching tool, to be able to say, I know this isn't the correct paper, but like it gave the example of the problem over here. And then it said, this is the, we're working on the right side of the equation. And then this is what it will look like at the end. Some other teaching tools that I think could help um, with students would be things that are very visual. I'm very, I am a very, very visual person. And so trying to um, understand math problems has always been something I've struggled with. So I think seeing them in motion is great. One thing I can think of is the Solve It game that we had. I really, really like that because something I talked about in one of my posts was um, giving students the right answer. And what I mean by that is the Solve It game lets you pick and choose what you can do to the problem so you can see if you're correct or not, or if you need to work, on one side more than the other, or whatever the problem to get to the correct answer. But it also doesn't let you stop until you get the correct answer. And I think that's something that, at least when I was growing up, oh, if we give you the correct answer, that's cheating, and such as that goes on in life. But I feel like, how is the student supposed to know or comprehend what they're doing if they always are second guessing themselves for what is the correct answer, or they have to wait for this assignment to be graded or that assignment to be graded to make sure they did it properly, when not that they should be given the correct answer every single time, but to build understanding. I always found it hard in class when the teacher was like, okay, here's the problem right on the board, and you have so many minutes to solve it. And then there was always that one kid that was like, I'm done. And 45 seconds after the teacher gave the problem, and I'm still sitting here looking at it like, I don't know what to do. So I think it also puts it to where maybe it's, I guess, a little more private. So the students aren't always having to be like, I don't understand, I don't understand. They can do the game and they can see, hey, maybe I need to, add a negative here and see if that changes it, or I need to add a positive and go from there, or I need to multiply this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. I really feel like that allowed me to I guess, fall back on my knowledge of what I already knew and how to do things to make sure I was still doing them properly. But I also didn't have to be like, well, is that the right answer? Because I really don't know. Or how can I get the right answer? Like stressing myself out about if I was, I guess, doing a good enough job. Um, I think some other tools or teachings that you could develop um, would be to kind of just go over this stuff, over and over and over again, because I remember doing some of these, but I also remember how hard it was. And I don't know if that goes back to kind of the question that was asked at the beginning of one of the chapters as to why. Why are we doing this? And I think that's always the question that I had was why? What makes this relevant, I guess, to whatever's going on when I can just add and multiply and divide and kind of still get the same answer, but that's not always true when you're trying to balance things, which is, like for example, the commutative property of addition. You're trying to make both sides of the equation have the same answer, and that's hard to do if you don't know why you're doing it sometimes, I think. But um teaching is something that I think, especially with math, I'm going to have a little bit harder time doing because I find myself constantly asking, why do we have to do this? Why is it done this way? I don't understand why I have to do all these steps. And this has been nice to be like, hey, I did learn something in high school, um, despite struggling. Um, I wanted to go back and talk about how I thought that like money and cooking would be great for visual aids, but I'm not really sure how that would like it'd be great for real numbers where you could see real numbers and fractions in action. It doesn't cover every uh, denominator of fractions, but I think, you could get the gist of what's going on, with fractions, but that wasn't really our topic for the last 2 weeks. So I had to kind of think about that for a little bit. And I really just think the visuals that we had in our readings over the week, with the simulation games and stuff, allowed me to have a little bit better understanding of things that were going on and how to think about what was happening with the answer I was trying to get.